Hi, and welcome back to this Friday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. 888-589-8840, number to call if you'd like to join the conversation. Free for our Friday. We'll talk about anything you want. You know, and Fred called about Border Patrol, he called, he's a federal employee, retired, but he called, he knows that federal workers who are going to be affected by the sequester are going to be furloughed. Their work week will be reduced to 4 days a week. They'll be expected to take 1 day off a week or 1 day off whatever a month. However, it's going to be rotated out. It might be different in different departments. So they are going to experience a little bit of drop in income. Now, we've got an email here from a listener. Again, you can contact us at focalpoint@afr.net, focalpoint@afr.net. This is from a Sandra writing from North Carolina. And she said that her son is a member of the Border Patrol and that they have gotten a letter stating that the sequester is going to cost the average agent several $100s a month. And he's understandably upset about this. And so she is interested. She wants to know if we know anything about that. And here's what I will say about that. You know, President Obama, the administration has an enormous amount of latitude about where these reductions in the growth of government spending go. And I believe that they are intentionally targeting groups either that are the favorites of conservatives, like the Border Patrol, like the military. So they're trying to make a big show out of gutting the military as a way of sticking it in the eye of conservatives. It's petty, it's juvenile, it's mean-spirited. They are intentionally inflicting harm on innocent people in order to make a political point. Or they're going to try to inflict damage on people that will arouse the sympathy of the average individual. That's why they want bad things to happen to teachers. Now, it turns out that nothing bad is happening to teachers. No teachers are being cut. No layoffs are in the works. As an absolute nothing, as total smoke, total vapor, total mist. But that's what they want to do. So their whole orientation here is not to use this for the good of the country, but to use this for purely political reasons. So that is what is going on with all of that. I got another email from a guy that lived, a guy by the name of Paul, that was talking about this snake problem on the island of Guam. Talked about that yesterday. I was interested in that because that's where my wife was born. So remember, they got these brown tree snakes, and they've decimated the native bird population on Guam. And he said Hawaii used to have the same problem. And what they just did is they just got a boatload of mongooses. I guess that's the plural. Would the plural of mongoose be mongoose? I bet it's mongooses. Anyway, they just released these mongooses, and these mongooses took care of the problem. He suggested maybe we just need to release a boatload of mongooses into the island of Guam. And maybe that way we won't lose Jeff Reed. Remember, Jeff Reed told us yesterday when he was a boy, he got used to throwing G.I. Joe off the roof of his house. So he knows all about dropping inanimate things off of high places. And remember, this is going to be dropped by hand. These dead mice with this laced with Tylenol, they're going to be dropped by hand from, I guess, helicopters or planes or something. And I was afraid that we were going to lose Jeff. I mean, he doesn't even need to be trained. He's experienced. He's practiced. He knows how to do it. And we were going to lose him for a period of time until Guam was certified snake-free. But maybe if they just get some mongooses, we can keep Jeff around. Now, let's see where we want to go from here. 888-589-8840 is the number to call. Might as well grab a couple of phone calls while we are in the neighborhood. Let's go to Al in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Al, if we can grab Al. Thanks, Al, for calling. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, thank you for accepting my call. And since today was like free-for-all Friday, I wanted to bring up how Mississippi was like lagging behind in recognizing the 13th Amendment. And I just think that was just a proof to show that really the racial aspect of Mississippi hasn't changed, even though, things on the outside look like it's changed, but the heart of Mississippi is still that state that believes that it's okay to own slaves.
Now, what Al's talking about is the Mississippi State Legislature did not officially get around to ratifying the 13th Amendment until 1995. They discovered just recently that they had never formally notified Washington, D.C. of their approval of the 13th Amendment. And so the notice was sent to Washington, D.C. that Mississippi officially approves the 13th Amendment. Al, do you know why Mississippi didn't ratify the 13th Amendment until 1995?
Because they, in their heart, Mississippi believed that it's okay to own slaves.
No, Al, that's not the reason. The reason that Mississippi did not get around to certifying the 13th Amendment until 1995 is this state has been run by Democrats since the end of the Civil War. Now that Republicans are in charge of the Mississippi State Legislature, they got the notification to D.C. that the thing has been done. Mississippi Legislature is in the hands of the Republican Party, Al, for the first time since Reconstruction. This place has been run. Hold it, Al. I'll give you a chance to sign. But, Al, the state of Mississippi has been run by the Democratic Party from 1870 until 2010. That's why there was no ratification of the 13th Amendment. Go ahead and give you the last word.
But right now, the Republican Party, they're doing that because they want to attack the 15th Amendment about the voting now, because what Delbert Hosemann is, he's wanting to see if Alabama goes through or not. So, I mean, he's only doing that because they really go back to see Mississippi never really ratified the 13th, that all the racism would show. That's my point. Republican Party or not.
Okay, well, Al, I mean, I just explained to you that the reason it wasn't ratified is because the Democratic Party, which founded the Ku Klux Klan, the NRA, was started by Christian people like myself to put guns into the hands of free blacks so they could defend themselves against the Democrats and the KKK. I mean, Al, Al, that's your explanation right there. It's a state that's been run by Democrats for 140 years.
Well, I mean, you have a right to believe what you want to believe, but I know for a fact it's the actual element of Mississippi is more on the line that whites were more in a position of leadership over blacks. And if you put that type of thing, it wasn't more so Republican or Democrat. It was just the way things were. And I don't know
Al, it was
it's just Republican or Democrat because Jesse Helms was a Republican, you know, and I mean he was running the Klan. So there are different types of Republicans like that, different types of Democrats.
Al, do you understand that going back to, you were talking about the Voting Rights Act, 15th Amendment, which is being reviewed at the Supreme Court right now, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment were all sponsored and pushed through Congress by Republicans. You understand that, right? That Democrats fought the 13th Amendment, Democrats fought the 14th Amendment, Democrats fought the 15th Amendment. Those things were enacted. Those things were enacted because of the Republican Party. When you look at the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965, a greater percentage of Republicans voted for those bills than Democrats. You understand that, don't you?
Are you trying to put words in my mouth? I understand it in my thoughts, but I'm just saying Republicans and Democrats during that time were all racist. You can't make me believe that Republicans were not racist.
Al, let's go back in history. You're familiar with the Republican Party, right?
I know who Abraham Lincoln was.
Do you know why the Republican Party was formed? The Republican Party, Al, the Republican Party, the GOP, the Republican Party came into existence to fight the institution of slavery. Al, learn your history, bud. You're sounding like an uneducated, historically illiterate individual here. You don't understand history.
I understand enough history to know that if you talk about the Republican Party, the good old party, they have racist elements just like the Democratic Party. You can't make me believe otherwise, because if you're trying to say right here in Mississippi, even the AFA, how many black men or black people do you have on your staff right there? Probably one person, Nikia, and she's one. But I mean, how many? There's racism there, and that's.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question, Al. Do you think that Massachusetts is a racist state? Do you think Massachusetts, this is been run by Democrats for decades. Do you think Massachusetts is a racist state?
Compared to Mississippi?
No. Do you think Massachusetts? Yeah, well, compared to Mississippi, or just in general, is Massachusetts a racist state?
I mean, I don't know about Massachusetts like I know about Mississippi, but I know Mississippi is a racist state.
Okay, well, now Massachusetts, that's your paradise, Al. Massachusetts is paradise to you. That's the bastion of liberalism in the United States of America. Now, in this court case that was being heard at the Supreme Court yesterday, I'm not going to go into a lot of details about it, but John Roberts caught the attorney for the federal government up short on this, because what the federal government was trying to say, hey, this is all a matter of statistics. This is all a matter of what percentage of white people vote, what percentage of black people vote. And if you have a higher percentage of white people voting than you have black people voting, then that is an evidence, it's proof of racism. And John Roberts pointed out that the state of Massachusetts, which is your paradise, Al, the percentage of whites that vote compared to the percentage of blacks that vote, there's the biggest discrepancy in the state of Massachusetts. You go to Mississippi, and a higher percentage of blacks vote in Mississippi than vote in the state of Massachusetts. So, Al, if you got a problem with the state, you need to go after Massachusetts, my friend.
No, but listen at dealing with Mississippi. Mississippi was just now coming around to actually ratifying, sending the ratification papers to the federal government.
And Al, let me interject. Al, I explained to you why. It's because Republicans are running the legislature in Mississippi for the first time since the Civil War. That's why it happened. I mean, Al, you're just making my point for me that the problem here with racism in our politics is with liberals. It's with Democrats and liberals. It's not with the Republican Party. The Republican Party consistently, starting in 1854, has been the party that has battled for racial equality for blacks. It was the Republican Party from day one. It came into existence to contain and abolish the institution of slavery. The man who emancipated black slaves, Abraham Lincoln, he was a Republican. It was Republicans who passed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment to make sure that blacks had the rights of citizenship, had the right to vote. It was Republicans that voted to get the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. You know, and Al, I guess the same question, could be asked of you. You say it's all statistic. How many white friends do you have, Al? Al, you still with me? Focal Point, AFR Talk. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us.